You are now listening to the Illuminati in Gaming on RealGamerNewz.com.
RealGamerNewz.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Illuminati in Gaming. I'm here with my man Shotgun Seat Productions, aka Tristan.
Yo.
And the second episode is called When Terrorists Attack Our Free Speech. Now, that's a kind of a crazy title. You know, I'm probably going to have to deal with some agents asking me some questions just because I typed that title. We're going to be on this whatever watch list, but I want to talk about a few different topics. Let's start off with the big one, and this is not really new or anything, but this is something that we need to talk about anyways and sort of get off our chest. And it has to do with Hotline Miami 2 and the Grand Theft Auto 5 censorship in Australia, which a lot of people...
Saints Row.
Alright, want to fill us in on that one? Because that one has not been as highly publicized before we move on.
It was just due to the fact of like drug use, and of course you make your character run around naked and things like that.
So what happened to the game?
Can't be released retail, as far as I know.
In Australia?
In Australia.
Wow, that's stupid. So, yeah, Australia is kind of at the spear's tip of this, but as we know, like, every game has been censored in other countries for a long time now, and they even get censored here to some extent because the ESRB can turn things down or make them adults only. Like Manhunt 2 became adults only, and then it was readjusted to become mature. And so a lot of people say, oh, well, who cares, it's not a big deal, it's not affecting me because I play the American version and whatever. But what you gotta understand is it does affect you. It affects the whole entire industry, because just allowing that type of mentality to start off with saying, okay, we need to censor games, and this game's not good enough, and this game's not okay, and that one's not okay. One country starting it off like that is how it begins. And then that type of thinking spreads, and now Steam has a region set up where each game can be blocked in a particular region, and then you have to access Steam all these different ways, and that's horrible because Steam is meant to be like the open source place to get games. Not open source, but almost to that level. So that's what I think about that. Tristan, you want to share some thoughts on that? And by the way, the Hotline Miami 2 developer told everybody to go to Kick-Ass Torrents and download their game if you can't get it in Australia, but obviously that could get you into trouble as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there, but what do you think about the censorship going on as a general thought?
Not a big fan of it. Not at all. There's also been some laws passed recently, even today in my own state. One particular law that I'm not going to get into, but that actually denies censorship completely, but is like straight out, like it's just downright discrimination to the max on like anything.
You want to elaborate slightly?
It's like they can like refuse service if like you don't like something about somebody or their product or really anything. As of today, somehow this law was basically met with a lot of criticism in the public eye, but all the government people liked it, of course. So it got passed. The vote was, I think it was 63 to 31. And so yeah, pretty big landslide. And now it's, I believe it was called I think it even has discrimination somewhere within it. So if like someone's selling something that you find offensive, that entire item can just be taken away, or you can choose not to serve someone if they come into your restaurant. So basically, it seems like we're somehow managed back in the year of 1968 again, somehow.
Where they're like, oh, you're black, we don't serve your kind. Or, oh,
well,
you
it's
believe
more...
in Gamergate, we don't serve your kind.
Well, in modern, well, not necessarily with being black.
You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, get out of my shop.
Yeah, it really applies to like anything. You could be like agnostic, and if somehow they knew, and it was like, let's say like an all-Christian place, they could just make you leave and like refuse to serve you, which is like a huge step backward.
You're a cigarette smoker, you're not allowed in my...
Yes, like just little things like
Even
that.
though you're not smoking right now.
And
You believe in legalizing pot. You're not allowed to have groceries.
yeah, it's kind of what it's like. And there's also I don't know if you heard about the law in California where they could just make it mandatory to kill homosexuals.
To do what?
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into this law because I didn't really. I was kind of upset when I saw this news article, so I didn't click on it. But it said
Right.
something about mandatory murder of homosexuals in California or something. That's what the governor wants. I mean, obviously, that's probably not going to get passed. I'm like, well, I don't know. This law will manage to get passed somehow, even though they'll probably get repealed in a couple of weeks, more than likely. So,
It's pretty insane. Alright, so let's talk about um, extremely violent games and extreme, like, rape games. And why do people make them, and why do people play them?
okay, so adult-only games.
No, I'm talking about, like, the really trashy, stupid games. Like, you know how that saying is a few bad apples ruins the bunch?
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about censorship and how we don't believe anything should be censored. But of course, there's games that don't deserve to exist. And if people could just have the maturity and the discipline to ignore those, then they would kind of sort of go away on their own. Like, ask any indie developer that's made games. If it's not necessarily like super easy to make games popular, right? So if the public ignores a game, it will sort of just go away. It may always be there for 5 or 10 people, but it won't become like a big sensation. But what the media does is when they see a game that's like so offensive, they sort of prey on your reaction to that, and they like benefit off of your outrage by getting clicks on their views on their shitty articles to get paid off of the shitty ads on websites like, you know, that I'm not gonna name them, but stuff that like Gawker owns and the Gawker site itself. I'm not gonna go into the details, but a lot of gaming sites that people read that are trash do this method of sort of making you outraged, and then you go to the article and you click the article, and what ends up happening is these like demented, I wouldn't even say they're really games, because if you don't make a game to a certain level of quality, it's not really a game yet. It's more like a application that's kind of whack, you know. And so, you know, people make these extreme like rape games in Japan and distribute them on like floppy disks and shit like that.
Oh, I've heard about this one game on the street.
Yeah.
In a few different areas. It's like a you can like choose how to like rape your victims and like what kind of tools you use to like torture and like murder people, and like it's not like Manhunt where like your dude's just insane and it's shitty graphics and it's just like these people. That's different than what this is. This is like taking the like you could kill like kids. And I'm like kids. I'm talking about like 15-year-old girls and stuff like that, and choose how you rape them.
Terrible. That's horrible. Yeah. See, people are gonna
that's
think
not censorship. That just should not exist because that's like that's not right in like any world.
Well, yeah, but my whole point is people don't have to publish that. They don't have to allow. You don't have to allow it on Steam. You don't have to allow it in the gaming industry, in the gaming community. And if you shun it just because you don't like it, which you're allowed to do, just like Tristan, you're talking about that law in your state or whatever. If people just sort of say like, I don't want to be involved in that, and I don't want to, and nobody writes an article about it, and nobody goes and plays it, then it will just sort of go away on its own. And if the government wants to get involved and punish them, fine. But when it comes to like high quality productions like Hotline Miami 2 and GTA 5, to allow them to say like you have to edit this because I don't like it, opens the door for a lot of stuff to get edited, and then you're just gonna end up with the Call of Duty, you know, pushing the war effort, and Halo trying to make us scared of aliens, and there'll be like nothing else. There'll be like no other type of games, and little happy crappy games where they're like, you know, oh, this happened and that was great, or, you know, stuff
I don't really
like.
say Halo tries to make you scared of aliens, but I agree with the Call of Duty fact.
Right.
Halo's a whole different. That is for another time. But
Right. Well, which kind of just.
it kind of started, I would say, in terms of like mature games. I'd say Halo was basically one of the first games to really start to push, of like more than half the games are rated mature, and made in like a certain way nowadays because of games like Halo and Grand Theft Auto.
Right. I see what you're saying there.
Which is ironic because Halo's kind of a soft M rating.
It really, really is, but I was just saying, like, if they're gonna police and control the tone of each project, then that's really more people that want certain political agendas. And that's kind of what's coming out now, is people trying to say, like, oh, that game is misogynist, or that game's too heterosexual. You're forcing people to be heterosexual, and there's like a homosexual versus heterosexual like movement thing in the games, and it's like all of that has nothing to do with games. Both of them are plenty allowed to exist. So
Yeah, go play Dragon Age Inquisition. There's plenty of bisexual, lesbian, homosexual, and straight options for you.
right,
If you're really that upset for some reason.
right, and
Like, probably not even, you're probably heterosexual anyway.
well, either way, in any event, my whole point is everything should be allowed to exist, and attention just shouldn't not be given to the stuff that sucks. And if law enforcement wants to punish people for, illegal stuff in the games, then that's fine. But there shouldn't be like a shunning of obviously high-produced content just because people don't agree with it. That's stupid. Speaking of censorship, what do you think about developers and journalists trying to stop criticism and low scores, and then even large companies like Sony trying to like say, oh, it's not fair, we got bad scores, and complain about bad scores, and even one of the really high up people at Sony was like being a little crybaby on Twitter talking about, oh, we give these people free review copies, we need to stop that, and advertisement money, and they give us bad scores. And does he like not understand that you can't just pay for scores? That's like literally illegal. So what do you want to speak on that for a minute?
Are they talking about The Order?
Yes, that was somebody.
That's the big example.
Yeah, that was the big example. The recent example.
That game didn't even get that bad of scores. It's just not the greatest game. It's good for what it is, but there's not enough bang for your buck. There's not enough content.
The Evolve team actually said that the bad scores helps them anyways. They said that they don't really mind the bad scores because they still get more people hearing about the game. That was their opinion.
They could have made a better game if they wanted better scores.